Hello and welcome to another edition of GNAT TV News Project's In-Depth series. My name is Andrew McKeever, the news director here at GNAT TV. Pleasure to have you with us today. Today is Thursday, January 11th, 2018, the first time I have a chance to use that date this year. And we're glad to have you with us. We're also really pleased to have back with us here in the studio Mr. Mark Tashjian, who is the headmaster at Burn Academy, as many of you know. He has been in that position since 2008, and also, as many of you no doubt know, is just recently returned from a 6-month sabbatical leave in Costa Rica. So Mark, welcome back to GNAT, welcome back to Vermont.
Well, thank you very much. It's very good to be here, and since you just said 2018 for the first time, I'll say Happy New Year, Andrew.
Okay, well,
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year, yeah, well, hopefully it's going to be a good one. Well, Mark, we have lots of questions to get through about, to hear what your experiences were like down there and kind of what you're bringing back to Burn and our area here after the 6 months away. But first, I thought it'd be kind of fun to go back to the interview that we did back last June before you left, when you talked a little bit about what you were looking forward to doing down in Costa Rica. Let's have a look.
So the board offered the opportunity of a sabbatical to reflect, to rejuvenate, to recharge, and to make sure that I don't suffer from what I think a lot of people in this position suffer from, which is burnout. So think of this as preemptive. I'll tell you, I don't feel the slightest bit of burnout yet. I've loved everything I've been doing for the last 9 years. But I'm also no fool and recognize that I've got what is truly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to take my family and go on the kind of adventure that I encourage our students to do, and that we encourage faculty members to do as well.
Okay. So
that was a great clip.
That was a great clip. So anyway, here we are. Now it's January 2018, and you're back here in Manchester, back in the saddle at Burn. So just to get us started, tell us a little bit about what you did for the last 6 months. What was it like down there in Monteverde, Costa Rica, by Green Mountain?
Yep.
In Costa Rica.
So I'll start by saying it was an unbelievable experience, and it was like nothing I've ever done. I've had the good fortune of traveling a lot, both for pleasure, not even both, for pleasure, for adventure, and for business reasons. And so I've been to, I don't know how many countries. I've never gone and lived somewhere before. And that's what made this experience so powerful and unique for me in my experience. So we took the whole family, my wife, Erin, and our 4 kids, Ella, Robin, Phoebe, and little Al, the 3-year-old, and our 2 dogs. And we packed up and we got on an airplane and we flew to San Jose, Costa Rica. From there, we got in a van and traveled for 3 hours up into the mountains to a town called Monteverde, an area called Monteverde, which, as you said before, means Green Mountain. And so it was kind of cool to be in the Green Mountains of Costa Rica.
Was that a coincidence, or did you plan it that way?
Pure coincidence.
Okay.
But we get up into this mountain community, very small town, very similar in size to Manchester, and we lived. And we had a little house. We started off in a little 2-bedroom house, and we had Costa Rican neighbors 10 feet away. All 4 of my kids went to school, and they went to a school that was 98% Costa Rican. It was bilingual, so some instruction in English and instruction in Spanish. When they arrived, they couldn't speak a word of Spanish, so they had a lot to learn. And my wife, Erin, and I took intensive Spanish classes, and again, it was a living experience. We didn't get a car, and that was by design. So we walked everywhere and we biked everywhere. So this was not a travel experience. It was not a sightseeing experience. It wasn't a vacation experience. It was an immersive living experience in a community. And I'd say our world all fit within probably a 3-mile radius, because that's about good walking distance.
Did you spend most of your time in the town, or were you able to travel around the rest of the country from time to time?
We traveled nowhere else. So we spent all our time in the town, with the exception of once a month, I'd bring Ella and Robin, who are pretty deep into gymnastics. I'd bring them 3 hours. We'd take a 3-hour journey to San Jose, and we'd go to a gymnastics gym, and then they'd have a couple days worth of workouts, and then we'd come home. But the rest was simply going to school, coming home, do your homework, have dinner together, get everyone to bed. We go to bed, you wake up. I mean, any parent knows the drill, right? You get up, everyone up, here's breakfast, quick, eat, school bus is coming, let's go, everyone out the door, off they go, and off to school. So that was the rhythm of our life.
As an educator, it must have been fascinating to you to see, to kind of look at that whole immersive kind of style of education compared to, I guess, the bit by bit approach that tends to be the case when we're here in our natural regular surroundings or whatever. So that must have been really quite interesting to see. What you studied Spanish for 4 hours a day, and I'm sure that accelerated that learning process a lot.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think there's no question that for new language acquisition, the best, most effective, fastest way to learn is going to be through immersion. So we had 4 hours of, Aaron and I would be in a room with a teacher, and we'd be having conversation, and we'd work on grammar and vocabulary and have homework. And then, part of the homework was just to go around and talk and use the language and practice and make your mistakes and sound like a gringo idiot, but get over that and say,
right.
You have to screw it up before you're going to get it right. So
Sure.
let's get through that,
right.
and keep on learning. And it was fascinating. It was really fun to be a student again, and it was really hard, Andrew. I mean, for me particularly, I didn't walk away thinking, wow, I have a talent for language. I walked away thinking, wow, it is really hard to learn a new language. And I worked really hard, and I learned a lot, and I'm disappointed that I didn't learn more, but I didn't feel like it came easily. I feel like I had to really work at it.
What are the differences in the approach to education that folks in Costa Rica take compared to here? Is it a different kind of structure, or do they have the same basic kind of elementary school, middle school, high school, college kind of setup that they have?
So as I said, my 4 kids were in school. They started August 3rd. So, we arrived, and the next week they were in school. Ella's in 7th grade, Robin's in 4th, Phoebe's in 2nd, and Al was in preschool. It felt similar. They have grades. First, second, third, the same grades that we have. Their senior class is 11th grade, not 12th grade. They divide the day into classes, math, social studies, science, so there's a lot of similarity there. They're taking what we know about education and applying it, but mostly in Spanish, which was different. And it was a kind of a funky progressive school in a beautiful setting. And that was kind of neat. I mean, they were surrounded by nature all the time. But it felt like a similar style. But I would have to say that we in this community are more advanced in our understanding of brain science and curriculum and materials, and we have better funding than they did. So given your druthers, we have it pretty good here.
Do they have the same array of clubs and sports activities that are part of the whole experience of going to school here?
The sports are separate, and I'm glad you asked that question, because I would say the 2 most powerful experiences for us as a family were, one was our family life within the school community, and the other was that Ella, Robin, and Phoebe all joined soccer teams outside of school, because that is separate. But they joined teams and had teammates and competitive experiences, literally around the country. And so that was another way of forming community and immersing in the community. So, think of what I'm saying, right? What does life look like here in this, in this community? Well, you get up, if you have kids, you get up, you send your kids to school, they come home, you have them do homework, you put them to bed. Oh, you take them to soccer practice or sports practices or whatever. We were doing exactly the same thing, with the only difference being this huge difference that we were in a Spanish-speaking community in a Costa Rican culture. So it was like, it was living. It was really neat.
So did you have a chance to kind of talk with your kids' teachers and the school administrators there? You must have thought, I got to find out what these guys think about all the issues that they face.
So yes, and I mean, one thing you do is you get to be a parent, and so you go to the parent conferences and the parent nights, and it's all in Spanish, and
you're trying to keep up.
Pick up some of it, and I was like, wow, this is different, and I could see what they're doing, and I'd have my headmaster's hat on and think, would I do it the same way? Would I do it differently? The other opportunity I had was, for the last 2 months, we had the 3rd and 4th grade teacher in my kids' school quit in early October. Just walked in on a Monday, boom, I quit, I'm out of here, and was gone before noon. So I heard about this, and at first I was disappointed because we thought she was a good teacher and my kids liked her. And then I thought, well, what's the solution? I marched into the director's office and I said, I'm here to tell you that if you need me, I'll teach math to 3rd and 4th grade. So, and the director, it's a religious country, right? It's a Catholic country. He says in Spanish, he looks up at the sky and he says, the little baby Jesus is looking down on us. And he gives me this big hug and he says, you're on. I said, good. And so, boom, I started teaching. So for the last 2 months that we were there, I got to teach 3rd and 4th grade math every day and have now teachers as colleagues. And I could be in a school where I wasn't the director, I wasn't the headmaster, I was a teacher. Mm-hmm. And I could feel that difference, and I could see decisions made that I'm not a part of, and I'm like, I'm used to being a part of those decisions or making those decisions. But it was all very much of a growth experience. The best part being day in and day out, working with a group of kids and really connecting and doing something I think is very important, which is teaching.
A much different age group than what you've been dealing with for the past 8 or 9 or 10 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was a really neat opportunity. I have to say, I was very clear on my 2-month objectives with the classes, and everyone knew I was going to leave because we were going to come back. It was really hard, right at the end, to say goodbye, because you fall in love with your class, you fall in love with the kids. And I felt, even though they knew, and even though the parents knew, I felt like I was abandoning them to come back here. And so I still feel this tug, like I want to go down and at least say hello and let them know that I care.
So in addition to learning Spanish, now you're learning Spanish and teaching numbers.
Right.
That's an interesting.
1, 2, 3, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So the obvious question then is, what are the big takeaways that you're coming back to our area with after an experience like that? I mean, it must have given you an opportunity to sit back, reflect a little bit about, the past few years. Where do we want to go in the future? What are some of the thoughts you're coming back here with?
Good.
After that?
So I'd like to talk first about what I hope is the lasting impact for my family and my kids, because a piece of this was distinctly a family experience. I know what we just went through was an incredible bonding experience for us as a family, to spend that much time together, to grow together, to have this common experience, to learn a new language. I had breakfast every morning with my family, and I had dinner every night as a family, every single night for 6 months. Which
Not
is
always the case.
It's not quite the case
Maybe
here, and
not,
it's not
right.
just the demands of my job. It's also the demands of my kids' activities. You know,
Sure.
with Ella and Robin in gymnastics, you know, they're gone 3 nights a week, and I'm in my responsibilities. I'm out multiple times per week, and so we don't find that family time here that we did there. So there was this incredible opportunity to be with each other, to appreciate each other, and to grow together. My hope for my kids is that a lasting impact is that what they've learned is if you're interested in anything, a place in the world, if you're interested in something you don't know about, you explore it and you dive in. And if it's a place in the world, you go, but you don't just go and look at it, you go and experience it. And the way to do it is get connected. School, sports, something active that connects you in a common purpose with people in that country is really how you get to know that country. So I'm excited for them, and I hope and think it will shape how they view opportunities as they get older and come to Burton and, you know, take advantage of our exchange programs. Or I mean, we have all kinds of programs that if you're interested, you can dive into. So that's the family piece. From a Burton standpoint, one clear takeaway is the school ran really well while I was gone. Burton knows what it's doing. And that's, you know, it's absolute testament to Meg Kenny, who is the assistant head and was the acting head while I was gone. She was in charge, and it's, you know, and she's incredibly competent, incredibly smart, thoughtful. So good for Meg, and good for the whole team, because everyone at Burton knew, like, people know how things work. And so the school kept working, and not only did it keep working, I would say that there was great progress made as we keep moving forward in our thinking on education. So I'm really proud of that, and I think a takeaway is BBA is in good hands. It's not these hands, it's all the hands that comprise the team at the school and you know, and the students for that matter. From my standpoint as a leader, I think one of the most important takeaways I got is I came back and I have a very different, elongated perspective on my tenure and growth and the growth of the school. So what I mean by that is before I left, it was 2017, 2018's next year, 2020 sounds a little bit far off. 2025 sounds like something we can't even think about, right? So I come back now, and I feel in my bones that, you know, my daughter's going to be here before I know it. Ella's in 7th grade. In a year and a half, she's at Burton. That puts her as the class of 2023. That's right around the corner. And Robin is class of 2026. That's right around the corner. So all of a sudden, I feel like I have my eye on 2023, 2026. The 200th anniversary of Burton's founding is in 2029. That seems close. And I feel like one of my roles, one of my jobs, my important perspectives is to be looking out in that long-term way and helping the school build and grow towards what we can be in 2029. And I find that to be really exciting. And and I haven't even gotten to Phoebe, who's, you know, 20 class of 2020, 29 or 30, and Al's 2032. And, you know, I had that all up.
Out there.
It's a long time, but it actually, for me, it feels comfortable to talk about.
Yeah.
And I think it's the sense of commitment that I feel for this school and for this community. You know, clearly, this community works for us as a family. Burton is a school that I love. It has a mission that I absolutely buy into. And so it's comfortable for me to be thinking about, another 10 years, another 15 years. And once you think in that way, you start to think you can get a lot done. And if you just think year to year, you don't get anywhere in the life of an organism like Burton.
Well, I was wondering, is there some initiative or some project or some idea that you came back from this experience with where you were thinking, I want to get going on this right away, or at least if not in this second semester, then at some time next year.
Right.
Whether I was thinking, I know you already have a very robust international student program.
Sure.
And I was wondering if this experience made you think we have to do even more sort of to make our own kids aware of
Right.
international things or grow the international I don't know, but
Yeah.
I just wondered if there's maybe one big idea that you're thinking, I want to hit the ground running on this
Right.
ASAP.
Right. I think that it certainly reinforced my belief that Burton needs to be a place that has powerful learning experiences in a lot of different ways. Whether they're academic or experiences like the Mountain Campus or our Dean, the Dean Farm program, or our semester abroad programs where you can go study and live in Ecuador or in France or in Germany. So I guess it doubles my sense of support for the whole breadth of offerings at Burton. I would say that there's not one thing like, I want to have this pet project now
Right.
with Costa Rica, because I think they're all pet projects. I do think that our next big thing as a school is going to be, Burton's growing, and more people are moving to this area from not just other parts of Vermont, but throughout really the country. That they're moving to this area in part to come to Burton. And I think we're going to outgrow our current facilities very soon, which creates the opportunity to really think about the next, a true 21st century, future-looking classroom building, our learning center. And I'm excited. I think that's a big pet project, but I think that this next building has the possibility to be transformational in the way we operate as a school. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what it does, but I do know that it doesn't look like every other classroom building that most schools live in, because I think that the building of the future, the classrooms of the future, are going to change in fundamental ways. So I'm really excited to take on that long-term growth project and then connect it to where we are in our education today and how we want to see the Burton education evolve in 2018, 2019, 2020, and so forth. And we can connect the two.
Interesting. I was wondering, while you were away, did you keep in touch with the staff, or did you really try to make an effort to stay unplugged and kind of like, okay,
So,
you guys are going to deal with this, and I'll help out from a distance if necessary in a strategic way,
Sure.
but the day-to-day operation of the school is
I kept
out
in
of my
touch
control.
with the chair of the board, Seth Bongartz, and with the acting head, Meg Kenny, and here and there with people in kind of a more personalized way. I didn't get a single phone call, and I was not asked by Meg or anyone else to weigh in on a single operating decision. And I think that was really healthy because Meg was in charge, and she filled me in on things. But
Yeah.
we talked about every 3 or 4 weeks, and she'd fill me in on things she thought I'd want to know, but she wasn't asking permission
Right.
or consulting on decisions, and she shouldn't have been, because I was down in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
I can add a perspective. I'd give her some advice maybe,
Right.
but decisions need to be made by the people that are closest to the decision, and that wasn't me. So I'm happy to say that not only didn't I try to inject myself, I think it was better for everybody that I was, experiencing what I experienced in
Right.
Costa Rica.
So other than adjusting to the weather, which must have been a jarring shock and as you returned,
Right.
shortly before Christmas, just when the thermometer started to take a bit of a nosedive there, what's been the adjustment coming back been like? Was it?
It's
was
kind
it
of
like,
amazing.
Oh my God, or was it pretty smooth?
So we flew back. This is the power of air travel, right? We woke up one morning in Costa Rica, and that night we were driving up from Newark Airport, and we got into to our house here in Manchester at about 2 in the morning. And then later that morning, 9 in the morning, I'm over at Burr & Burton, and I got to walk into the assembly, the holiday assembly, say hi to 710 kids and 100-something faculty and staff members, and boom, we were back. So, from the next day, I was in it. I was in assembly. We had a faculty party. We had people over that afternoon, and I guess I'm the kind of person that's all in, and I was all in Costa Rica, and it was hard to leave and it was sad to leave because we had real friendships there, but I had to turn the lights out on that and flick the lights on here, and boom. So was it a hard transition? No, I love this school. I love this community. I have friends here. I was happy. I'm delighted to be back. And you mentioned the weather. I want to say that negative 20 degrees is cold for anyone. So everyone was shocked with that. And just to disabuse you of the notion that Costa Rica was like sunny and
Balmy
sipping umbrella
paradise.
drinks, we were in the mountains. We were in the
Right.
cloud forest. The first 3 months that we were there, it rained. It poured every day, like torrential downpour in the afternoon into the evening. It would be sunny in the morning, and then it would pour again.
So they have like a monsoon season?
It
or
was
is that-
monsoon. It was,
Wow.
and so, I may look tan, but maybe that's just because I had too much coffee this morning. It was not sunny. It was incredible. I mean, I wouldn't do anything differently. I'd never lived through rainy season.
Right.
So I had the opportunity to experience rainy season. We were there when Hurricane Nate hit, and there was real destruction in the mountains because, as we know in this community, when you get a lot of rain in a short period of time, and in Costa Rica we got 20 inches of rain in a day. And in the mountains it channels, and those stream turns into rivers, and it blew out roads and caused mudslides and destroyed homes. And then the next day you look around and you see how your neighbors are doing. We were without power for several days. We were without water for several days. And, it's all part of an experience that, you wish it didn't happen, but there we were. And, we see how a community bonds and repairs itself.
So if these are like sort of annual monsoon type seasons, they folks down there, I guess they get used to that, right? Or they expect it, or?
They expect it, but this was a particularly bad rainy season coupled with Hurricane Nate. So
right,
this was
right.
extraordinary even by rainy season Costa Rican standards, for whatever that's worth.
Interesting.
Then we got to, that brought us to November, and November was beautiful. 70 degrees and sunny. And then you get what they call the Christmas winds. And it meant it was windy all the time in December. I mean, howling winds, swirling winds. And, you kind of lived through that, and then we got an airplane and came back here. So this weather doesn't bother me. This is what Vermont is supposed to be like
Right.
in the wintertime.
Yeah.
It would bother me more if it were 60 degrees and sunny in December and January. So
That would be troubling.
it would be trouble, indeed.
We have a minute or two left, and one question that just occurred to me as we were talking. I guess I just wonder, what do folks down in Costa Rica make of the U.S.? I mean, did you have an opportunity? You must have said, had conversations with them like, what is their perception of America?
Right.
And it probably is all over the map, but I just wondered if there was any kind of sense that you had, well, folks look at, the big gigantic superpower to the north as benevolent,
Right.
malevolent. I'm mispronouncing that somehow.
We know what you're trying to
But
say.
what is their perception of the U.S.
So,
in general?
Well, maybe what I'd like to do is start that question by saying, talking a little bit about their perception of themselves, because one of the things I found in Costa Rica was tremendous pride, tremendous national pride. Not patriotism, but something different than patriotism. Pride in the country, pride in the natural beauty, pride in the way the way they live. They have an environmental sensibility. 99% of their electricity is produced through renewable sources. There's a great sense of camaraderie among all Costa Ricans. Politically, their political differences are in a narrow range, and so they don't feel like a country divided. They feel like a country with different opinions. So that felt, in many respects, like the pride I see in Vermonters, in people who live in Vermont, who know this is an incredible place to live, and it's beautiful. And I've never felt state pride before until I moved up here, but people are really proud of Vermont as a state, and that felt very similar. Now, how do they view the United States? I think that they fully understand that right now we are a country divided, and they try to make sense of that. And where they are it's kind of interesting. I mean, they're a staunch Catholic country, so in certain respects, their religious their religious belief would make them lean to what we in this country would call conservative views. And then they have these strong sense of environmentalism. They don't have a standing army, so there's a kind of a peacefulness and a commitment to peace that would make them look like someone that would be on the more liberal end of the spectrum. They know we're a pretty big country. They think of us as wealthy because as a country we are. But I don't think they didn't look at the U.S. as malevolent. If anything, it was, there's a sense of interest and curiosity and appreciation for, all this country has to offer. And, from afar, the American dream still looks like the American dream. And it was a good reminder of that.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot more we could talk about, Mark, but...
and I can show you pictures if you want to. But.
Oh, right. Well...
No, I won't do that to you right now, but
okay.
Another time maybe.
All right, terrific. Well, again, Mark, great to have you back. Great to have you back here at the GNAT studio. Great to have all of you with us as well today. This has been GNAT TV News Project In Depth. Glad to have you along for the show today, and we'll see you the next time. Take care.